Hey kings and queens, welcome to my channel. So today is all about wedding talk. A lot of you know that I got married in April of this year and things have been going really great marriage wise, but I wanted to kind of like cast my mind back to the wedding itself. And because my channel is all about adulting, so sharing my tips and learnings about how to save money, how to invest money, how to get on a property ladder, all of those like adulting growing up stuff. I wanted to share how I managed to save so much money on my wedding. A lot of us know that weddings these days are so expensive and it's almost like the bigger the better, the more glamorous, everything. People are just posting all the time about these glamorous proposals they have and like glamorous weddings, etc. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but to be honest, like a lot of us are kind of like more inclined to live lives that are a bit more, I guess, minimal and simplistic, and we just have our priorities set on other things. So if you're like-minded, if you're like me, my priority was spending my money on a house because that is more, I guess, permanent than a wedding that only lasts for a day. So from the get-go, my husband and I, we were clear we are not going to be spending thousands of pounds on this wedding. And actually, our budget was £10,000 for both the wedding and the honeymoon. Now, we haven't been able to go on our honeymoon yet because of pandemic, lockdowns, etc. So we've just spent money on the wedding so far, although of course we do have our money saved up for our honeymoon whenever that may be. But yes, in terms of the actual wedding itself, we were able to keep under budget, which is great. And if my Excel spreadsheet is correct, and if I have been very thorough and accurate in trying to keep track of all of my expenses, I believe I spent £5,859.38 on my wedding. And I think that's an amazing amount considering the fact that weddings go into the tens of thousands of pounds and dollars these days. So I wanted to share with you how I actually managed to spend, I guess, so little on my wedding. And it just meant that I was able to have money put aside, well, the money that we didn't spend on our wedding, because we've actually kept under budget. Even when we actually go on our honeymoon, we're not going to spend our budget of 10k. So it just means that we've been able to put extra money into our emergency fund, which I am very pleased about. So let me dive into the 10 ways that we were able to literally save thousands of pounds on our wedding. And if you are frugal, or if you just have your hopes set on something bigger and greater than just your wedding day, or if you just like to live quite a simple life, perhaps these tips will be helpful. So grab yourself a notebook and a pen and some cup of herbal tea, and yeah, let's dive into these 10 tips. So the first way I managed to not spend thousands of pounds on my wedding was, number one, by not having any bridesmaids. So I know this may come as a shock to some people. You probably can't imagine a wedding without bridesmaids, but for me personally, I just thought it's just the easiest thing, especially because I had my wedding during the pandemic. There were just so many changes and uncertainty I had to deal with at that time, that having to think about bridesmaids and buying bridesmaid presents and those silk or satin robes that they wear and the dresses they were going to wear, it just felt unnecessary. So that's the main reason why I didn't choose to have any bridesmaids. It wasn't even because of the pandemic, because of the timing of my wedding, we were limited on the number of guests we could have, but we could definitely still have bridesmaids and a best man, but we just both chose not to have that. Keep things really simple and also cut down on costs. So if you are really, I guess, keen on saving money, don't have any bridesmaids, or just have one, like your sister, or two bridesmaids, and keep it really streamlined. Again, you won't have to fork out money on the presents they usually have to give to bridesmaids, the robes, the dresses, etc. you don't have to spend money on any of that. So that was a massive money saving tip for me. The second way that I saved a lot of money on my wedding was by reducing my guest list. Now, again, I did have the luxury of being able to have my wedding during the pandemic. So in the UK at that time, we were actually restricted on the number of guests we could have anyway. But I think this tip is timeless. Like, regardless of when you're planning to have your wedding, if you simply just keep your guest list as small as possible, it means that you'll end up spending less money on a venue, because you can kind of like pass with having a smaller venue. You won't have to spend as much money on catering because you'll have fewer people to feed. You won't have to buy as many wedding favours, for example. You won't have to spend as much on like decor, like the seating plan, decorating tables, etc. So everything is just overall much smaller, much more confined. So yeah, keep your guest list small, and you know, try and only invite really close friends and family members. And I guess what we did to compensate, again, we could only invite a certain number of people anyway, but we made sure that our extended family, friends didn't feel left out by having a live stream. And I think because of the whole pandemic, it's taught a lot of businesses, a lot of venues, a lot of churches to become more accustomed to using the internet for like services, etc. So yeah, our church, they provided a live stream service. We did have to pay for it, but it was a great way that we were able to still have people like take part and watch, or kind of like virtually be at our wedding without physically being there. And although yes, we did pay slightly extra for the live stream service, it was no way near what we would have paid if we had those extra people physically with us for the wedding and the ceremony. So yeah, definitely keep your guest list as small as possible. So the third way that we were able to save thousands of pounds on our wedding was by using the same venue for both the ceremony and the wedding reception in the evening. Now, I guess we were just very blessed that our church agreed to allowing us to use their facilities for our wedding reception. I know it's not always possible to do this, but if you have the option, just stay in the same venue. Like, it can save you so much time and money, because you won't have to worry about having to travel from one venue to the next. You won't have to worry about having to transport your guests from the ceremony to the reception. You won't have to worry about decorating two venues. It cuts down on so much cost. So that's what we did. We had our we had our ceremony in the church, and then we had our reception in the church as well. And actually, we did have to have our reception in the church gardens due to the whole pandemic and the government not allowing indoor events at that time. But we were able to get a slightly cheaper rate by using the church for the whole day. And I know that we would have probably spent way more money if we had to hire a completely separate venue for our evening reception. So keep your ceremony and your reception in one venue if possible. So the fourth way that I saved thousands of pounds on my wedding was by literally doing my hair, my makeup and my nails all by myself. So this was kind of like a way of me reducing stress as well, but I chose to do my own makeup, my own hair, my own nails, primarily because I knew I'd save hundreds of pounds. So for my hair, I just used an existing wig that I had bought like 2 years ago and just like glammed that up with like a glitzy headband and a veil. My makeup, I kind of felt quite comfortable doing my makeup myself, so I just did that as I would usually, but just with a bit more highlight, etc. And then my nails, I have a at-home nail kit. If you want to be able to start doing your nails at home without having to go to the nail salon, get one of those at-home nail kits, and it takes potentially like half an hour, I would say, to do your nails at home. So it just meant that I was able to glam myself up without having to pay anyone. And actually, I did consider like getting a professional makeup artist to do my makeup, But when I had had my makeup done previously by someone, I just didn't really like how it looked. I felt like I looked too different to my normal everyday self. So it was just my own preference to do my own makeup because I wanted my makeup to look quite natural. So that's what I did, and of course it saved me hundreds, if not probably thousands of pounds. So if you are really tight on money, or you just want to be saving anywhere you can, do your own hair, do your own makeup, and do your own nails as well. And YouTube is your best friend for finding bridal updos, like hairstyles to do. And because I was wearing my veil, it meant that my hair didn't even have to be perfect on the day because the veil was covering it for most of the day. So yeah, YouTube and Amazon are definitely your best friends. Okay, so the fifth way that I was able to save thousands of pounds on my wedding was by getting my family members to help me with things. So I got my sister to help me look for a cake, and because she went into all that effort of finding a cake, she just decided to pay for it herself. She didn't, I guess she just felt like, you know what, I've spoken to suppliers, I've looked at their photos, their online galleries, I might as well just pay for it. So my sister ended up paying for my cake. My brother ended up paying for our caterer. He found the caterer to use, and he just thought, because he had that existing relationship with the person, he just thought it was easier for him to pay for the catering. Similarly, my parents, they paid for my husband and I's traditional outfits because they went to the shops in Nigeria to actually look for the material, etc. So what I'm trying to get at here is that if you ask your family members to help you find suppliers for certain things, they will probably just end up paying for it at the end of the day, just to make both of your lives easier. And they kind of like make it their wedding gift to you. And I'm not saying that I went in with the intentions of, I'm going to get her to pay for my cake. That wasn't my intentions, but honestly, because your family loves you so much and they're usually very happy that you're getting married, they just want to give to you. So it ended up being a really great way of saving money by asking my family members to help me find things and find suppliers. So yeah, use that tip if you want to save a few pounds on a few things. And then the sixth way that I was able to save so much money on my wedding was by buying stuff online. Now, I've mentioned Amazon. Amazon was great for my at-home nail kit. I got my wedding veil on Amazon as well. I bought my bouquet on Amazon. I didn't want fresh flowers, but it just felt a bit too cumbersome having to look for fresh flowers at the time I was planning the wedding. So I just got like an artificial bouquet from Amazon. And I also got my wedding dress not from Amazon. I got it from JJ's House, I believe. Yeah, it's called JJ's House is the site. It's kind of like, I wasn't too sure if the site was actually legit, so I did spend a bit of time like reading reviews of the site. I think I went on Trustpilot to see if it was a real website. But because there were many positive reviews, yeah, I decided to buy my dress online. And I know it's really scary buying your dress online, but I think a lot of us are so used to online shopping in this day and age, and if you don't like something, you can usually return it, etc. So I just bought my wedding dress online from JJ's House, and it literally cost me £220. Like, can you believe how cheap that is for a wedding dress? And it looked absolutely beautiful. I'll show you pictures here. And when it came, it looked exactly like the pictures, if not even more stunning in real life. I was so pleased, and I just got a standard fit, a standard size. So you can either get your dress in like standard sizes 6, 8, 10, 12, etc. Or you can like literally measure your body and then give them the measurements and they'd make a tailored dress. I decided just to get a standard size 10 because I didn't really want to get my measurements wrong doing them myself, and I knew I was a size 10, so I thought nothing much can go wrong, like horribly wrong, if I just give them my actual dress size. But yeah, buying stuff online is a great way to kind of like snazz up some deals. I know that the in-person bridal shops, the dresses can be really, really expensive, and I think you're also paying for the service that they give you, like them treating you like a princess when you're trying on the dresses, etc. So I just kept it really kind of like cheap, affordable, and got my dress online, and I ended up being able to save hundreds of, if not thousands of pounds on my wedding dress and the other stuff that I bought online as well. My 7th tip for you on how to save thousands of pounds on your wedding is by getting a family member to actually drive you to your wedding venue. Now, myself personally, I asked my brother if he can drive me to the wedding venue, to the church, because he happens to own a like big white car which kind of looks or feels wedding like, especially if you put like your own like string or like bow on it and made it look like wedding ready. So yeah, I asked him to drive me to the church for the ceremony. He actually ended up not driving me on the day because he ended up being slightly later than expected. So I had to Uber myself to the wedding reception, or to the wedding venue, sorry. But even the Uber itself, it cost, I think it was £18, so it didn't cost much at all really. But yeah, if you have someone who is willing to drive you to your wedding venue, get them to drive you. You don't really want to be spending hundreds of pounds on a limousine or like a horse and carriage or a very vintage old kind of vehicle, although they look glamorous and lovely in pictures. But I guess just think about priorities. For me, getting there wasn't really a priority, especially because my drive was such a short duration, only 10 minutes. Yeah, definitely spend money on the areas that matter the most for you, but choosing the more affordable modes of transport is a way to help you save some money. And then the 8th way I saved so much money was by actually getting ready at my mum's house on the day. So I mentioned before, the distance between where I got ready and the church itself, it's literally maximum 10 minutes drive. Not even a 10-minute drive, it's probably like a 5-minute drive and a 10-minute walk, to be honest. So my parents live really, really close by to the church that we actually got married in, and I just thought it made sense, economic sense, to just get ready at home at my parents' house. So that's what we did, and it cost us nothing. And of course, I would have liked to, you know, be in a hotel on the morning of my wedding, and eat like a nice luxurious breakfast and be surrounded by beautiful fields and countryside or whatever it is, but it just didn't really make sense for us and like where we were having our wedding stuff going on. So if you can, get married at home or at, you know, somewhere that you feel comfortable with, or try and choose a more affordable hotel or like bed and breakfast option, so that you're not spending hundreds of pounds on like a hotel accommodation, especially if you're also paying for like your mum to stay there overnight, your bridesmaids, etc. That is just how like things really like add up without you realizing. So definitely be careful about where you choose to get ready. So the 9th way we were able to save so much money on our wedding was by choosing to not buy each other wedding gifts. So myself and my husband, we're not really big on buying gifts anymore. I think it's just because we've been together for so long, we don't really feel the need to shower one another with gifts. So we didn't, you know, exchange gifts on the morning of or anything really. And again, it's just another nice way to save a bit of money here and there. So you don't have to do, I guess, these wedding traditions that people try and make out to be mandatory. You can definitely choose what you do and what you don't do for your wedding. And yeah, buying each other gifts was just something that we chose not to do. And then the 10th way we were able to save so much money was by not having any alcohol at our wedding. Now I know hold fire, some of you are like, what the hell, no alcohol? But yeah, we just didn't have any alcohol. We didn't buy any drinks for our wedding, and I think primarily I only drink like once a year, usually at Christmas. So I'm not a big alcohol person, and neither is my husband, to be honest. So we didn't really want to spend money on things that weren't a priority for us. And I know, of course, you've got to look after your guests and cater to them, but to be honest, our immediate family members, they don't really drink that much either. So we just thought, you know what, let's just do away with the alcohol, and we knew that everyone would have a very lovely time with just like soft drinks, fizzy drinks, etc. at our wedding. And yeah, they did have an amazing time. Everyone looked so happy, everyone really enjoyed themselves, and it just really goes to show that you don't necessarily need to drink to have a good time. So yeah, those are my 10 tips for how we were able to save thousands of pounds on our wedding. And actually, I have a bonus tip for you. So if you stay to the end, this is a bonus tip to reward you for being really diligent in your wedding planning and being, I guess, really frugal with how much money you're spending on this. So the bonus tip for you is by choosing to use virtual wedding invitations. So because we wanted to keep things quite small, we just thought, you know what, there's no point getting our wedding invitations printed. So we used, or my husband just created our wedding invitations on Photoshop, I believe is what he used. You can use Canva, you can use those free online Illustrator kind of, those programs like Canva, PicMonkey, etc. to create your own wedding invitations. You can actually just use their templates and create a wedding invitation that still looks really lovely and elegant. So that's what we did. We created our own wedding invitations, and then I think my husband just screenshotted it or saved it as a file or like as an image. And then we sent it to our guests via WhatsApp, and that's how people got invited to our wedding. And that was the same regardless of whether they were joining us in person or watching the live stream. And it literally meant we spent zilch on our wedding invitations. So that is another great way to save money on your wedding if you're trying to reduce your costs. So yeah, so that is how we were able to save so much money on our wedding, and we have no regrets. We don't even feel like we cut corners or we were being too cheap. We literally feel like everything was quality, and it still felt very, you know, beautiful and very intimate, and everything was amazing basically. And it really goes to show that you can have a very beautiful, stunning wedding without having to break the bank. And I'll put on the screen now some of the costs that we did incur that I haven't mentioned, so you can kind of see some of the things that we did spend money on and how much we spent on those things. But with everything, we definitely tried to keep things reasonable. And we just wanted to make sure that we didn't end up like going into debt because of this wedding, or, you know, waking up the morning after the wedding regretting how much money that we've spent. And I definitely feel like we kept things within reason, and we did very well. We did very, very well. That's how I feel, and I'm very, very proud of myself. And I do hope these 11 tips, because I gave you the bonus tip, I do hope these tips are helpful. What I would really, really like actually is that if you have recently got married, or if you're planning for a wedding yourself, and if you have any money saving tips that you feel other people will find useful, please leave them below in the comments so that we can all see them and benefit from them. It's just really nice when we share ideas, share tips, etc., because, you know, we're learning from one another, and that's kind of like the most important thing. So definitely leave any tips that you have personally or that you've learned from friends, family members in the comment section, and like this video as well to let me know that you found it useful. And if you want me to do any other wedding related videos or a wedding Q&A, etc., leave your requests below and I will definitely try and film those videos for you. But yes, truly, truly appreciate your presence and your time, and of course God's blessings for your own wedding and for your marriage if you are wedding planning at the moment. And yeah, I will definitely see you soon in my next video. So take care and God bless.